There is a form on the horizon that requires no introduction. A place that belongs not merely to a city, but to the collective memory of humankind. One glance is all it takes. Iron, ascending toward the heavens. Lines intertwining in a colossal web. A silhouette that seems to yearn for the clouds. The Eiffel Tower. An emblem of Paris, of France, of a continent. But it is also a symbol of something more elemental. Of dreams, of audacity, of a challenge hurled at the impossible. Today, we accept its presence as inevitable, as if it has always stood there, illuminated against the night, a romantic fixture on postcards, a silent witness to kisses and eternal promises. But its birth was no love story. It was a narrative of conflict, of apprehension, and of profound courage. When Gustave Eiffel announced his project, he was met with derision. A tower of iron, soaring over 300 meters high, a black giant that would dominate the Parisian skyline. To many, it was a nightmare, an insult to artistry, an offense to the City of Light. Petitions were written to halt its construction, and yet, that mad idea became a reality. This was a city of elegance, wrapped in its literary cafes and gaslit boulevards, animated by the artists who flocked to Montmartre. It was an age of invention, of electricity, of machines that were reshaping the world. And here, at the heart of this transformation, a seemingly impossible dream took root. To build the tallest monument ever realized by human hands. Not a cathedral, not a palace of marble, but a colossus of iron. Iron, the material of industry, raw and mechanical. The very metal that, until recently, had been reserved for bridges and railways. The project was conceived as the centerpiece of the Exposition Universelle of 1889, the grand World's Fair organized by France to celebrate the 100-year anniversary of the French Revolution. The nation had to demonstrate its greatness to the world, its innovative spirit, its technological superiority. Eiffel was ready to accept the challenge. But this was not just a vision. It was a battle against time. The tower had to be ready in little more than 2 years. 2 years to conceive, design, fabricate, and assemble thousands of tons of iron. 2 years to erect something that no one had ever dared to imagine. January 1887. The ground chosen for the tower was the Champ de Mars, beside the Seine, a vast space destined to host the exposition's pavilions. It was here that the first blows of the pickaxe broke the silence. Workers began to excavate the foundations, deep, solid, engineered to anchor a colossus that would have to defy the wind, the rain, and the tremors of the earth itself. The monument that would one day touch the sky began its life buried deep within the ground, a testament to the idea that the most audacious ambitions must be built upon the most unshakable resolve. Were set upon solid stone foundations. 2 were reinforced with caissons sunk deep beneath the waters of the Seine. It was an act of taming a river, of bending nature to the will of a dream. Every single piece of iron was calculated with microscopic precision. There was no margin for error. In the workshops, thousands of components were forged and numbered, the pieces of an enormous, intricate puzzle. Each girder, each rivet, had its exact and singular place. Then, transported to the Champ de Mars, they were hoisted by steam-powered cranes and fastened into place by men suspended in the void. The workers operated without modern harnesses, without helmets, without any of the protections considered essential today. The growing latticework. Each day was a battle against vertigo, against the elements. And yet, in over 2 years of construction, among more than 300 workers, only one life was lost. An astonishing figure for the era, a testament to the discipline and meticulous care with which Gustav Eiffel governed every phase. But as the tower climbed, so too did the controversy. The artists and intellectuals of Paris despised it. They called it a monstrous lamppost, a skeletal factory chimney, an iron skeleton defiling the beauty of their city. They even wrote a manifesto, sting for a stop to this shame. Eiffel, however, was unmoved. He answered with quiet conviction, "When it is finished, you will see. It will be beautiful." And so, day by day, the giant took form. At 50 meters, Paris already seemed small. At 100 meters, the workers gazed down upon the spires of Notre Dame and the rooftops of the grand boulevards. At 200 meters, no building in Europe could rival its height. It was a journey toward the heavens. On the 31st of March, 1889, Gustave Eiffel himself ascended to the very summit, climbing more than 1,700 steps to hoist the French flag. It was the moment of triumph. The tower was complete. At 312 meters, it was the tallest structure ever erected by human hands. On that day, Paris no longer looked with suspicion. It looked with wonder. On the 6th of May, 1889, the gates of the Universal Exposition swung open. Paris was ready to show the world the fruit of its audacity. Millions of visitors arrived from every corner of the globe, from America, from Japan, from India. They came to witness what was meant to be a temporary structure, destined to stand for only 20 years. Instead, what they found was something that had begun to conquer the very hearts of those who had once scorned it. A structure born of protest became an emblem of progress, proving that the most enduring monuments are often those that first challenge our vision of the world, only to forever redefine it. They had all heard the whispers of it, this folly of iron that now commanded the city. But when they stood before the colossal structure, no one was prepared. No one remained indifferent. Some were struck with a primal fear. It seemed an alien titan, a metallic behemoth descended from a future they could not comprehend. Others were simply captivated, their gaze drawn upward into its intricate web. Never in the long history of hum of the ascent. To climb the tower was a journey seared into memory. Its elevators, themselves marvels of engineering for the age, lifted visitors into the sky. With each level, the world below transformed. Paris, once immediate and sprawling, receded, becoming smaller, more perfect. From the first platform, the grand boulevards and exhibition pavilions unfurled. From the second, the city's rooftops dissolved into a vast, intricate mosaic. And from the summit, at over 300 meters in the air, all of Paris laid herself bare. A living map, bisected by the Seine, a slow-moving ribbon of silver. It was a near mystical experience. Men who had circumnavigated the globe found themselves moved to tears by the vista. Elegant women clung to the railings, scarcely believing they could stand so impossibly close to the heavens. It was the emblem of a new age, an age of audacity, of modernity, of a humanity that dared to gaze beyond its own established limits. Yet even in these days of glory, descent was a constant hum. Critics dismissed it as ugly, useless, a monstrous skeleton destined for rust and oblivion. But the truth was far more complex. The tower demanded a reaction. It was a mark etched upon the Parisian sky. You could love it, or you could despise it. You could not, however, ignore it. And so, in the summer of 1889, the world discovered that France had not merely erected a monument, it had forged an icon. But when it was first unveiled, no one imagined it would be eternal. It was born with an expiration date, built under a clear contract. It was to stand for only 20 years. After 1909, the city of Paris had the right to dismantle it, piece by agonizing piece. For many, this was a promise of relief. At last, they said, we shall be free of this iron monster. But the tower's destiny was not written in legal documents. It was written in its purpose, a purpose its own creator would fight for. Gustave Eiffel did not simply build his tower, he defended it. At its pinnacle, he installed an arsenal of scientific equipment, meteorological instruments, devices for experiments in aerodynamics, and even antennae for the first fledgling radio transmissions. The structure, intended as a temporary spectacle, swiftly became a laboratory suspended in the sky. And it was radio that would be its salvation. When the French military realized that from this singular perch, signals could be sent and received across immense distances, the tower's death sentence was suspended. It was no longer just a symbol, it had become a sentinel, a vigilant eye watching over the world. It is the paradox of great works. What is built for a fleeting moment can, through unforeseen utility, achieve a permanence its creators never dared to dream. An object of controversy becomes an object of identity, proving that a legacy is not merely constructed of iron and rivets, but of the purpose we find for it, long after the applause has faded. As the 20th century dawned and Paris hurtled toward modernity, the tower's very meaning began to shift. It was no longer an aesthetic insult, but an inseparable part of the landscape, a feature of the city's very soul. Artists who once scorned its form now rushed to paint it, to photograph it, to weave it into the fabric of their novels. The once reviled monster of iron began its slow transformation into a muse. Then came the crucible of war. During the First World War, from its commanding height, the tower's radio station intercepted critical enemy transmissions, a silent guardian helping to defend France. A column of iron, born to astonish the world, had become the secret heart of national survival. It was designed to stand for only 20 years, but the tower had already decided on forever. Destiny held more dramatic trials. When France fell to Nazi occupation during the Second World War, the structure became a quiet symbol of resistance. Legend holds that when Hitler visited Paris, French workers severed the elevator cables. If the Führer wished to ascend, he would have to climb. He never did. That small but powerful gesture of defiance transformed the Iron Colossus into an act of national pride. Through the darkest days, it stood motionless, a silent watchman over an occupied city. And when Paris was finally liberated, the French tricolor once again flew from its summit, a triumphant signal visible for miles. The tower had survived, but it was more than a witness to war. It was a beacon of hope. In the post-war years, as Paris returned to life, the tower became its emblem. Each time its lights blazed to life, the city seemed to declare to the world, "We have returned, and we are stronger than before." In 1985, a change rendered it more magical still. A new lighting system bathed the structure in a golden glow, transforming it into a nocturnal jewel. Then, to mark the new millennium in the year 2000, a cascade of sparkling lights was installed. For 5 minutes of every hour after dusk, it just a monument. It is a nightly spectacle, a ritual, an emotion renewed in darkness. Today, millions journey to see it each year. Some ascend its heights, others simply gaze from afar. but all, without exception, are touched by its presence. For to stand before this giant of iron is to confront a silent testament to endurance, a structure that has watched the world change, yet remains, reminding us that what is built with vision can, against all odds, last. The Eiffel Tower is no longer merely French. It has become a universal language, an architectural syntax understood by all, without the need for a single spoken word. It is a silent promise, etched in iron against the sky, a testament that humankind can erect not only monuments to war and destruction, but also cathedrals of wonder. Here is proof that we can construct a beauty that resists the relentless march of time, a beauty that casts its light upon the future. And so, each time its silhouette is carved into the twilight of Paris, it serves as a profound reminder. It tells us that the most impossible dreams are not meant for slumber, but are the very ones worthiest of being brought to life.